On today's show, renewable power finds an unlikely home and EV charging for Western Australia. G'day everyone, my name is Chris and this is your show about everything happening in Australia and sometimes around the world in the space of renewable technologies such as electric vehicles, battery, solar, wind, hydro and more. If you're new to the channel, welcome, consider subscribing. And thank you to my awesome Patreons who support me from as little as a coffee a month and get exclusive access to content that you just don't see here, plus early access as well to content, polls, news and things. Just go check it out, you'll be surprised. And hey, these awesome individuals over here, Ashley Hill, Angelo, A.C.T specialist, Ray Johnson, Tesla and the Gong, thanks to those guys who at producer level get their name read out every week on this show. Alright, so first up, this is going to be a short one. Maybe. Let me explain. This last week I was sick for almost all of it, and oh my gosh, it was terrible. I won't go into details, but let me just say productivity was right down. So today I've just got 3 little stories for you, but hey, let me just say to you right here and right now, I'm gonna need your help, okay? So wait around, if anything, and check out the FYI section, and hey, let's just get into some news. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here to mourn the death of coal at cemeteries. Yes, a cemetery in Ballarat is holding public consultation sessions around their plans to move to renewable technologies such as solar power and other tech to not only reduce their emissions but also provide savings for their daily operations. Several public forums we held tomorrow, so that's February 11th by the way, full details are below, where they'll be showcasing how a cemetery will look and feel running on solar and using electric tools and more. Ballarat Cemetery's CEO, Annie De Jong, said that the cemetery consumes significant electricity and the fuel that it requires in its daily operations like running irrigation systems, buildings and equipment is quite large. So with the help of the Ballarat Community Power Hub, they're providing the knowledge to help create a sustainable future for this business. Now, I think this is awesome, and I'll be very interested to see what the public's reaction is going to be to it is like, because if I had a choice between 2 different cemeteries and one was doing it with 100% renewable power and the other one wasn't, I'll tell you which one I'll choose. Okay, pretend I'm a politician for just 1 second. Hard to imagine, eh? Right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to deliver to you fair income power and slash your electricity bill by at least $113 per year. Oh, and wait, businesses, I can save you almost $700 a year, and I'm going to do it by using 100% renewable power. Sounds too good to be true? Well, it isn't, and this is actually the finding of the A.C.T. Independent Competition and Regulatory Commission's draft decision. Oh my gosh, braces. Try talking with braces. Anywho, on the Australian Capital Territory's regulated retail electricity prices for the next 4 years. And look, as we've all heard, this flies counter to the misinformation and false promises by some in politics, stating that the only way to bring electricity prices down is to use more coal and gas. No, it's not true, and the A.C.T's move this year to 100% renewable power is proof positive that wind, hydro, battery storage is cheaper than any fossil fuel electricity price. Okay, this next story is going to sound like an advert, but I assure you it isn't. Rather, I just want to make sure that you're aware of a company called Amber Electric. They're an Australian startup who's doing something that I'm quite excited about. You see, in Australia, electricity prices are rising massively year over year. So much so that I estimated that the repay on our Tesla Powerwall 2 that we've got in this house will be within the next 6 to 7 years. Yeah, wow. Who remembers when gas, water and electricity prices used to be relatively affordable?
12 seconds later.
Anyhow, so what Amber Electric is wanting to do is enable people like you and me buy electricity from 100% renewable sources at wholesale electricity prices. Aha, Chris, I hear you say. Wholesale prices of electricity in our market can be as high as $14,000 per kilowatt hour. I'm not signing up to that. And yes, I know, you're right. But let's throw one coal power plant into like service mode and yeah, we get those price spikes. But thankfully, Amber is actually mandated to sell you electricity at the government's default market offer, which is perhaps what you're currently paying anyway. Now, I've joined the waiting list and I think this is an exciting development, which has too many positives for me to mention as it seriously sounds like I'm on commission from them, which I'm not. No, not an ad, no. So here's some incentives for you, okay? They will actually pay you to use power during times when wholesale prices go negative. Yeah, imagine that. Hey, Chris, go turn on your aircon and your dryer and I don't know, that's ridiculous, but you get the idea. And what about this? If you actually have solar to export, they'll actually pay you real-time wholesale prices for it as well. How much is my feed-in tariff? What do we want? EV charging stations in Western Australia. When do we want them? In 2018. Yeah, it's a work in progress. Now, thanks to Nigel Farrier, he's like one of my awesome patrons over there, and he found this in this article in WA Today, where they detailed how the Western Australian government commissioned a report in 2018 to only have it quietly resurface almost 2 years later. The charging network in question would comprise of like an additional 4 major city sites with 6 350 kilowatt charging bays and an additional 57 two-bay sites every 200 kilometers or so along, well, this map right here. And the charging speeds would be something like between 50 to 350 kilowatts. And well, what do you reckon the cost of this project is? Now, don't go cheating, don't go look it up. Put your answer down below now. And I'll wait. All right, you ready? The total cost of this project is a mere $23.6 million. Wow. Like, in comparison to this whole sport funding corruption stuff that's going on down here, it's like a drop in the Indian Ocean. This network would increase the number of public accessible charging stations from the now like 350 to more than 488, meaning that for many EV drivers, like with smaller batteries, especially like the Nissan Leaf 2 and well, the Renault Zoe, could easily traverse this massive country of ours. Alright, time to get into one of my favorite segments, mail time. And well, starting off with the text messaging video that I did late last week, Donald Smith wrote that, I agree. If you have all these other companies that have this function working, when you deploy yours, it should be at least as good as the competitor's deployment. A non-functioning update is pointless. And well, look, thanks for that. And I must say that almost all the comments were surprisingly like, yeah, it's not that good. And people do workarounds with their phones using Google Assistant on that. One suggestion was even to get like a, just plug in a Google Wi-Fi, dot thingy. That's like an Echo Dot Chris, but you get the idea. One of the minis, there we go. And using that to actually do some of your functionality. So yeah, look, definitely still is a beta. Tesla's always sitting over their updates, and no doubt it should improve, but nonetheless, it's half-baked at the moment and not ready for prime time, especially as you actually have to look at the screen to read what you said back to the person. Yeah, so imagine that really awkward text, and we've all had those autocorrect fails, haven't we? Imagine the speech-to-text fails that you can do. I've seen some real doozies, so I would not ever send a message without first checking it first. And that's why I like Google Assistant, because it reads it back to you as to what it's going to transmit to the other person, and you won't have that awkward meetup next time round. On last week's news show, Tyler O'Connor wrote, Hi Chris, I love your content, very well thought out. A link that I think would be interested in is the NEM Watch. Please check it out if you haven't already. And well, I hadn't, and this is awesome. This is really cool. I mean, check this out. Right now in Tasmania, they're running on 100% renewable power from a mix of like hydro, solar, and something else. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've left a link down below in the show notes, which is where you can find information about all the stuff that I've spoken about today, as well as more. So do check it out. Now, the next name, I'm not going to even begin to pronounce. I'm just going to call you 186, who wrote this. Hi Chris, Any chance you could do a video explaining the breakdown of what the $29 billion of fossil fuel subsidies goes towards? This would be a great way to pass this on to other people. And look, yep, I definitely will do that in the future. I'm pretty certain I did it last year, but not in the guise of this new thing I'm doing around FYI, which is probably a really good segue to... Okay, FYI, or for your information, is a new segment I've created where I'm making these little short videos, roughly about 2 minutes in length, because, well, social media sometimes has limitations on the length of videos that you can, post onto. Okay, so I'm putting in a separate playlist, and there's a link to the Dropbox. There's a Dropbox links to you to be able to download it, so that when you see that politician, that climate denier, or whoever it might be, who has something to say that they heard from Bob, who came across their desk and they've got all the facts and they know everything, well, you can put into this video. And the idea is that, one, it very quickly, I hope, disarms them and gets them watching, because I'm selling it like, hey, I'm with you. Yeah, I believe in what you believe in. To very quickly saying, well, no, it's not true, and here's the actual evidence. And look, it's pretty short and sweet, and the idea is that I'm trying to encourage them to at least listen to it, if not then seek it out from this channel. And the greatest story, all the references and stuff, will live with the video on the YouTube side, as well as on my channel, obviously. But nonetheless, I think this is something that we all need to be more active in, because the proportion of people who do not believe in climate change is, well, it's not bad. It's not bad. But I think there's still some work to do there. So, yeah, let's maybe jump into it in a second. But before we do, I've decided, based upon this ABC's survey that they conducted, where they surveyed more than 54,000 Australians on their views around climate change, what we should do about it. One of the surprising results of this survey was that 34 to 50% of Australians believe that nuclear power is necessary in our energy mix future. I'm quite literally shocked by this. So I'm going to write an FYI for it, okay? Remembering it's a 2-minute video, so in 2 minutes I'm not going to be able to cover nuclear really well. I'll do a longer piece that will be on this channel and this show, but I will also do an FYI, which is 2 minutes. And my thinking behind that is I want to address the concerns. So what do you think people have concerns about with our energy security? That's what I think it is. That's my opinion. I could be really, really wrong. Do people believe the hype around that, well, if we need something that's clean and green and 100% renewable, which nuclear isn't, that's what we need, right? Okay, we need secure energy, right? I think the information that's out there is definitely way outdated. In the last 10 years, firm renewables have become cheaper, both at levelized costs, we won't go into that today, but on all economies of measure, nuclear is 4 times as expensive as even like coal and gas. And then you've got renewables below that again. So why do we have people thinking that then we need to have nuclear in our future? Can you hear what I'm saying here? Basically, I want to hear your thoughts on what do you think that people really want? What is it that they need to be reassured about? Is it the security? Is it the safety? Is it the pricing? Is it the energy delivery and guaranteed energy, keeping the lights on, feeding and power? I'm just really, really unsure. And so I really, really do need your input on this. So put them down below. And based upon what you write, I'm going to shape an FYI that talks to that. One last thing for today's show, and this is actually something I wrote for the Now You Know team, Zac and Jesse. And I'll put it in full here because, well, it's 6 minutes 35, which is significant because when they ask for contributor stories, they want them to be at like 2 minutes. And well, 6 minutes 35 is way too long. But nonetheless, I was honored that they asked me to do this, and I'm talking to around about the fires update so far. As I'm filming this, I believe they've had a great amount of rain in New South Wales, so the information that I wrote and shot on Friday and edited yesterday is kind of already out of date, but so be it. Also speak to the politics behind it as well, so I hope you enjoy it. Thank you, Zac and Jesse, and also a big thank you to the Now You Know community who, through your kind generosity, plus many others from Australia and around the world, have contributed to the Front Up for Fires fundraiser more than $10,000. This money will be donated to the New South Wales Rural Fire Service, and the response around the world has been tremendous, with many given to the likes of the Red Cross as well as actual animal welfare agencies. And this will go a long way to help not only the affected survivors, but also to help rebuild the communities in which they live and also the habitats of the animals affected by these devastating fires. I last reported to you about the fires over a month ago, and currently more than 40 are still burning in Victoria, New South Wales, the Australian Capital Territory, and thankfully, none are out of control at present. To date, more than 11 million hectares or 110,000 kilometres of bush, parks and towns have been razed. That's roughly the size of England, or maybe Austria and Switzerland combined, or even the state of Pennsylvania. An estimated 1 billion animals have been injured or perished. And sadly, 33 people have been killed, including 5 firefighters, 3 of whom came from America. Now, I should note that in Australia, we are quite used to bushfires, or wildfires as you know them in America. Typically, they would start in November or December and run through the late part of February, in a pattern that starts up north and then concludes in the southern states like Tasmania. But this season has been very different, with the nation experiencing fires at the same time. This interactive map shows fires from September 2019 to January 31st, and as you can see, no part of Australia has been untouched. During the height of these fires, our Prime Minister Scott Morrison, he's like the president equivalent in America, went on holiday. Yes, a holiday. To Hawaii, no less. Why? Well, because as he put it, fires are managed by state and territory governments, not by him or the federal government. So, what turned out to be a truly regretful moment, he went and had his Mai Tai on the beach whilst the country burned, people and animals died. On this short segment, I'm going to illustrate our country's highlights and lowlights when it comes to climate action and these fires because, as you'll soon learn, it's been a long lead up to this event. Back in 1992, Australia signalled its intentions to join the Kyoto Protocol Agreement. Fast forward to 2007, that's like 15 years later, we finally signed up to it. What was the delay? Well, in Australia, much like most of the world, we had this cycle of either the Labor Party, more like pro-environment, just a little, and the Liberal Party, very much in favour of fossil fuel industries. And between the both of them, they're stalled on the Kyoto Protocol because, as the Liberal government in charge of the nation at one point said, to do so was counter to the nation's interest. Ironic, right? Around the same time, an important white paper commissioned by the then Labor Party in opposition asked economist Ross Garnaut to examine the impact of climate change on the Australian economy and his recommendations around medium to long-term policies to improve the prospects of sustainable prosperity. Published in 2008, it's scary how an economist predicted that increasing bushfires, higher temperatures, droughts and longer seasons would not only have a massive economic impact if we fail to act on climate change, but also, in equal measure, wreak disastrous impact on our wildlife. This year's fire insurance bill has already surpassed $2 billion. In the meantime, to the credit of various governments at federal and state or territory levels, we saw like a carbon tax introduced, emission trading schemes, renewable energy targets, CO2 reduction strategies, and the signing up to the Paris Climate Agreement. Great stuff. But unfortunately, as governments change, so too our policies. And they're either rebranded or killed off altogether. So here we are in 2020, having witnessed the greatest bushfire season the country has ever seen, and we have a Prime Minister who's very much in the climate denier camp, swayed by lobby groups, Murdoch media, and members of his own cabinet who openly dispute climate change. Those who maybe support coal and gas, or maybe are just have a real passionate dislike for wind turbines, or even want the introduction of nuclear power into Australia. Additionally, this current government wants to fudge about our CO2 emissions in order to meet the Paris Climate Agreement. Yeah, how? Well, they're going to take the Kyoto Protocol CO2 savings and apply them to the Paris total. A practice that's banned in Europe and will cast real doubt on our ability to reach these goals. And to think that Australia is the second highest emitter of CO2 per person in the world. I can't stress this enough. A lot of Australians are hurting right now. The emotional trauma is palpable. People are angry, upset, and, well, mentally in a space that I couldn't even begin to fathom. They're furious at our politicians who, in the face of specialist reports from multiple scientific bodies, they've been using lines like, well, this isn't the time for politics or thoughts and prayers, when it's been going for 5 straight months. So thankfully, public sentiment on climate change and the way in which we manage fires might also have changed. I must stress that we do have some awesome politicians from both sides of politics, plus big business and everyday mum and dads who support action on climate change. Australia's renewable energy mix from solar, wind and hydro is at about 23.5% and will hopefully grow to about 35% in the next 2 years. The Australian Capital Territory, that's like the powerhouse of Australian politics by the way, shifted to 100% renewable power this year. And, well, that's the size of Luxembourg. Yeah. We have one of the world's largest batteries keeping the lights on and lowering our electricity prices, and more exciting technologies in the pipeline like the Sun Cable project connecting Northern Australia with Singapore with a 10,000 megawatt solar array and a 22 gigawatt hour Tesla megapack, or megapacks rather. There is hope for us yet, and again, thanks Zac, Jesse and viewers, now you know. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that. That was designed primarily for an international audience, so America and Europe. So maybe for us in Australia, nothing new here. But nonetheless, I hope it goes some way to help some understanding for people who might not be in the know. If you've got any questions about today's show, or you've got some comments, particularly around nuclear, please do put them down below. I want to hear from you sincerely. I really, really do. If you haven't already, subscribe. It does support the channel, or you want to take it to the next level, join me over there on Patreon like these awesome guys. And yeah, remember, early access content, polls, news, stuff you just don't see here. And hey, if you do anything, you be good and you be green.